1. Welcome to Community Hotline, presented by 88 Real Estate Media, for the community, by the community. I am your host, Bob Fang, and today we have community member Tameka. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Bob Fang. I am Tameka Kee. I am the founder of In.Flux, which is a media company focused on the intersection of technology and creativity and culture. And I've known Bob for a couple of years now. And so when you reached out to say, hey, I'm doing this cool media thing where we're talking to people about money and education and learning and life, I said, yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, so let's go over the rules real quick. This is a kid's show. There is no cursing. If you do curse, you get a first strike, a second strike, and a third strike. So far, no one has been booted yet, so we will see. Let's dive right into it. First topic of the day is money. What is money?
Dinero, cheddar, scratch, Skrilla, right? Buckets. We have so many different words for it, right? So many different words in different cultures. It's funny. I think money comes from the word moneta, which is similar to, which is, I think, is a Greek or a Roman sort of goddess of abundance and wealth. And so money is currency, money is energy, I think money is a tool that we use to buy things and have experiences and sort of operate in our modern world.
I love that. Tell me, what was your understanding about money back in high school?
That's interesting. I think that is actually a really good question. So I would say high school was a challenge on some levels because my family we lived in one part of Queens in New York right before I started high school, or right as I started high school, we moved to another neighborhood, and we moved because my parents bought a house. And so I have two siblings, and we all had the same bedroom in our previous apartment. And so parents bought a house so everybody could have their own room. We had a yard, we had pool, we had all kinds of stuff. For me, I was miserable though, because my parents bought the house and had no more money, right? And so I'm like a senior. I'm a senior in junior high, and I wound up going to high school with all of my friends. And this is sort of the late 90s, where I think we were way more label conscious then, whereas now I feel like people can wear cute, interesting clothes, and it doesn't have to be all about Tommy Hilfiger or Guess or Gap, whereas back when I was in high school, it was all about the labels. It was Timberlands. Like you had to look the part. And because my parents bought a house, I couldn't look the part anymore, right? Like they didn't have the same disposable income that they had even 2-3 years ago. And so my experience with money in high school was, I was like, this sucks. Like, why do it's like, this is terrible. I don't have any money. My parents don't have any money. We have this stupid house. Like, I didn't think about, the financial decision that they'd made for our family, for the betterment of our family. And also didn't think about, I couldn't understand why, because they bought the house, they didn't have enough money to do other things. I was also like, well, then why buy a house, right? And so I think my understanding of money in high school was, it was limited. It was definitely influenced by hip hop and hip hop culture and sort of, where I was growing up. And so money was what got you style and access to cool things and access to doing lots of things. And I didn't have any of it. So I definitely, I think I idolized a lot of rappers and entertainers and stuff at the time, because they had money, right? And they could do the things that they wanted to do with the money. So that was high school.
Okay. What from your understanding then, what was your first real job experience with money, where you actually started, making money?
Oh man. My first job. Wow. My first job I was 15, and there's a program at school, and I worked for Assemblywoman Barbara Clark. So she was the state assembly in Queens, in the part of Queens where I lived. And I worked at her office, and I like faxed and filed stuff. And
At 15?
and 15, it was like a work study program with school, but yeah, 15. And that was like my first job ever. And I think about that, like, wow, how fortunate was I that I was able to get sort of such specific mentorship at that time. I mean, I think, to be honest, I feel like I made like $7.50 an hour or something. And I think like my first paycheck was like $110. And it was like so amazing. It was like, this is my money. I have this whole thing. And it was like 15. And I think how fortunate was I that as a 15-year-old, I got indoctrinated in sort of office life and office culture that has then allowed me to continue to have jobs and make money and do things that that it's surprising to note that a lot of people don't have that experience. You know, I know people now who are in their 20s who nobody needs a fax machine anymore, but who don't understand how to conduct themselves in an office, right? Because they have not had that experience. And then, I mean, who knows, do we even need offices anymore? But so if that's a roundabout way of answering your question, my first job was 15. I was making no money, but I was so excited.
Did you buy some Timberlands after you made that?
Then I understood how little my $115 could actually get me. Yeah, so that was my first job.
I love it. You got any I guess from the time of your first job making that $100 to now, you got any, what are 2 money tips?
2 money tips. Yes, absolutely. One is do your taxes. In conjunction with that is do your taxes. Oh my God, you have to do your taxes. Like it is.
What does that mean? Like
in conjunction, in connection. Because I would say you asked me for 2 things, and I almost want to say 3, but I'm going to connect it to that first one.
Okay.
Do your taxes, and make sure you talk to somebody when you are doing your taxes, whether it's just the person at H&R Block, whether it's your cousin's friend who is an accountant, whether it's because particularly as we are moving into this space where way more people are going to work for themselves and be entrepreneurial. This may change, but I think our financial system is not set up for individual people who are working for themselves. It's very much set up for companies and corporations. And so there's a reason that people say, oh, you know, Amazon doesn't pay any taxes, or Google has moved to not pay taxes, because there are laws and tax shelters and there are ways that tax laws are written and the ways that people can get deductions as a company that make it far more lucrative for you to have a business than be an individual working, right? It's almost like when I first started working for myself, this idea came to me where I was like, it's almost like they don't want me to have my own business because I have to get a license to do this, and I have to get a tax ID, and I have to get this, and I have to pay this every year. And it's almost like they want to keep you employed under someone else. And so, yeah, so I would say do your taxes and get smart, get smart advice about how to do your taxes, because it can screw you up in the long run.
I love it. Just kind of piggybacking off of that, I think that's kind of what I realized, that America values like employment, right? Because it's like if we have a bunch of unemployed people, then it's like people are going to be doing a lot of they're going to be bored, and they're going to trouble is going to start. So they're like, we're going to protect Google, and we're going to protect Amazon because they employ thousands of people. So we're going to give them tax breaks. I don't know. Isn't that interesting?
I think yes, but I also think it's, you know, the way that our laws were written also were not written, the way that our tax laws and business laws were written before digital companies existed, right? It was always on this idea of physical goods, right? We live in a world now where we're making something right now that's not physically going to exist anywhere else. How does someone pay you for this, right? Where does that money fit? Like, what are the laws around what we can do with this with this content. And so I think that it's going to be interesting to see how the laws need to change for this brave new world that we are living in now.
I love it. Let's go straight into the next topic of the day.
Next topic.
Education.
Woo!
I think that's a really good transition. Tell us who, I mean, you mentioned, you moved to high school, right? After your parents bought that house. Who were you in high school?
Oh, man. I was such a nerd. I mean, I still am, right? Like that's the cool thing. That is the cool thing about now. I guess that's another little random piece of advice I would say is like, be who you are. Like if you're the nerd, if you're the theater geek, if you're the whatever you are, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, especially once you get out of high school. It's going to be okay. I joke because it's like I was totally a nerd. I was such a nerd in school, such a geek. And now geeks rule the world. So I'm like, yeah, it's good. I won,
Okay. What were some of the biggest challenges you went through in high school?
Oh, man. So, like I said, we transitioned from one neighborhood to another. I went to a gifted and talented school, or rather, I was in gifted and talented classes. Ooh. And when we transitioned to this new neighborhood, the school I went to was being converted into a magnet school because it had been a really bad school, and so they were sort of transitioning. They were transitioning some of the other students out, and so our school had 4 floors, and like the first floor was the older students, and like we were scared of them. We didn't really hang out with them and stuff. And I just remember one of my biggest challenges was like being comfortable raising my hand, right? Because coming from sort of gifted and talented classes where you are inspired and people are encouraging you, and you kind of are the light, they want to see the light bulb come on. Oh, and everyone around you is kind of in that same mentality. Whereas going to this school, which was much more of an inner city school, and not everyone did have that educational spark. And so like there'd be classes. I mean, I remember very distinctly, like in the beginning, like I stopped raising my hand after a while because I was the only one who was, right? And feeling self-conscious about that. So that was one challenge. Second challenge was, I was a pretty sensitive kid, teen. And I was I was also in multicultural school. So the neighborhood that I lived in, we had white kids, we had black kids, Spanish kids, it was everything. I moved to a predominantly black neighborhood, and I kind of, I wouldn't say teased, but I definitely, the way that I spoke was not similar to everybody else. And so I kind of, I was not teased, but I definitely was ostracized a little bit for being this nerd, for speaking properly, for not necessarily knowing how to fight or anything. I never wanted to fight. I think the first year that I went to this school, not the first year, but I'd say the first semester, I ate lunch in the library. Yeah. Well, I became friends with the librarians. It was cool. I just got and I got to use like LexisNexis and I was at the time like writing these books and stuff, and so I would just research and just eat my lunch in the library because it was quiet and it was chill, and it was not. I mean, like the lunchroom was when you think of a stereotypical inner city, like people playing cards, people smoking blunts, people like it was that, and I was not ready for that, and so. Yeah, so I ate lunch in the library for the first semester, and then I kind of broke out of my shell a little bit, and I wound up finding my friends. I became a bit of a theater geek, and so that helped transition, because once you're on stage, it's it's just a very different experience. People got to see a different side of me. So yeah.
I love it. Okay. What was the name of the school you went to?
Oh, so it was originally called Andrew Jackson High School. And then they changed it into Campus Magnet, which was 4 schools in one. The school I went to was Humanities and the Arts. It was all about arts and humanities. And then there was like a math and science school. There was a law and government community service school, and then there was one more. It was humanities, math, law, government, and then, gosh, what was the other one? I don't remember what it was, but yeah. So we got split into 4 schools, and then the other school transitioned out, and then it was fine.
So they rebranded basically.
Yep, they did.
I love that. Okay. So it sounds like, you're speaking about how, you're super, how you were like this geeky nerd staying in the library, writing books. Can you still hear me?
Not frozen now.
We're back again?
We're back again.
Yes. Now that we're back, question was, what is your highest ambition in life?
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. It's hard because it changes, I am always chasing that, I think. I would say right now, my highest ambition in life is to create a space for spiritual geeks to get their fix of technology and culture, but also kind of feed their souls. So that's what I want to do, because I know that there are a lot of people like myself who are like totally into tech and nerds and like play video games, and I think people typically think that those people are atheists, and a lot of them are. A lot of tech people are atheists, but there's also a lot of kind of super spiritual tech people who may not identify with Christian or Muslim or anything specific, but like astrology and maybe go meditate and like Reiki. And so I think my highest ambition, or I've been tuning into myself, and I would like to create, whether it's content, whether it's events, whether it's experiences for people who are spiritual nerds, to kind of get to feed both of those sides of themselves, to kind of keep them updated on the latest technology and cool stuff like VR and virtual reality and like, the future, but then also help them tap into, these deeply mystical, timeless experiences that you can have when you meditate, or when you, or when you do a shamanic journey or something like that. So yes, I think that right now feels like my highest ambition.
I love it. Well, speaking about, doing all those things, where do you kind of see the future of education going then?
So I am not a parent, so I feel like, from a kid's perspective, but then I guess there's education that's not just of children. I think that I hope that education is becoming more personalized and less standardized, right? It's giving people the opportunity to see, what we're talking about with like the workplace, for example, is maybe having people go into the office for like 3 or 4 days, and then they're home for 10 days, working from home for 10 days, and then back into the office for 3 days, and then kind of rotating. And I wonder if that's what's going to kind of happen with schools, right? Because I definitely think class sizes are going to be smaller, which is a much better thing. I think there's going to be, I think we're going to see a hybrid of online and in-person learning, which I think is really important. And then I think I would like to see more of a shift towards more customized education, if that makes sense. Like, I did an article a couple of months ago about vocational training and how people, people would look down on sort of blue collar jobs in the past, but now through things like VR and stuff like that, they're actually showing kids and adults how you can earn a living doing something with your hands that maybe you enjoy, right? That you love, that more than having to go to an office, more than having to sort of go to college and get a degree and do these things. And so I think kind of this intersection of technology and learning, allowing people to kind of to create better future outcomes for themselves, if that makes sense.
Right. No, I agree. I think there was, I think I read an article about how there's this new type of AI that's going to come, which is basically like, I guess, having like a Pokemon. And then they basically, you tell your Pokemon like, hey, I want to learn how to rip apart an engine today. I want to learn how to fix it. And your Pokemon can just like fit that into your schedule and just like wake you up at a certain time. Be like, all right, today's we're gonna learn about an engine, and then after X amount of time, like you learn how to rip apart an engine or something.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Personalized, technology enabled, personalized, and to kind of, I think education should also serve, you know, this new world that we're living in. Like it's I think it's a cliche, but it's, you know, I feel like our current education system was designed to create people to work in a factory, right? That's what it was. Standardized, you need to learn how to push this button, you need to learn how to memorize things, you need to learn how to take orders and get it done. It's not the world we live in now. Like I would love for school to teach kids, like back to full circle, back to the taxes thing. I'd love for schools to teach kids how to do their taxes and why they're important. Like the Pythagorean theorem is very important. Yes, a squared plus b squared plus c squared. Totally get that you need to know that, right? But like maybe you should also know how to file your W-2s. Maybe that's a thing that you could teach in math class, right? Or maybe how to budget, how to set up a bank account, how to do those things. And I think parents should share that, should teach their children those things, but perhaps our educational system should do that as well.
I agree. I love it. Okay. What are 2 defining moments in your life then? And how do they?
From an educational standpoint?
Well, I mean,
in general. Or are we on the third topic?
Well, no, we're still on education, but I think it fits in, right? Because it's like defining moments are like lessons that you've learned in life, not necessarily school.
Oh, so education, the school of hard knocks.
Yeah. Education goes. It doesn't have to be high school, college. It could be anything.
Gosh, oh my God, 2 defining moments in my life, like. For
the kids, share your personal.
Yes, exactly. I think I'm thinking for the kids. Okay, so one that comes to mind is this is 2018. So it was 2020. So 2 years ago in 2018, right around New Year's of 2018, I woke up and I was annoyed because I had broken up with my boyfriend, and I woke up and it was New Year's, and there were all of these. Everybody was getting like engaged and all these posts, and I just remember being like, and I was on Instagram, and I remember I was on Instagram for like 2 hours in the morning, and I said, I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. I'm getting off Instagram, and not only am I getting off Instagram, I'm going to take. What if I took the 2 hours a day that I spent on Instagram and put it into building my dream? What would happen? And so that's what happened. So on January 1st of 2018, I got off Instagram completely. And by December 1st of that year, I produced the first In.Flux event, which I think you came to. And it was amazing. It was, you know, having been an events producer for 10 plus years or so, to kind of bring something to fruition that was my idea, you know, from soup to nuts, and put it up on the big stage, was an amazing accomplishment. And so I think the defining moment was not the event itself. The defining moment was kind of me stopping and literally thinking about the amount of time that I was spending on or doing this thing that was not fulfilling me. And what if I took literally just the same 2 hours every day that I was on that thing and put it into something else? And I think that was defining for me, because it was like, no, my time is my most valuable asset, right? And that's interesting, because I think, you know, 37 when I had that epiphany. So that's a defining moment. And then, I mean, I would say, hold on, there's probably a couple. Educationally, I would say, I think one of my defining moments was when we did a performance of Grease in high school. I was Sandy in Grease. And yeah, and it was kind of, that was like my breakout moment, I think, in high school. That was kind of like when I broke out of my shell, because I was this character, and, you know, we're on stage and like we're dancing, and it was the whole thing. And like, you know, to kind of look out in the audience and see everybody, you know, rocking along with us, I definitely think that impacted me in a positive way.
I love it. I love it. Look at you, how vulnerable and sharing.
I know, it's crazy.
Thank you so much. All right, let's move on to the last topic of the day.
Last topic. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
It's love, 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 love. What is love?
What is love? Oh man, I think very similar to money, right? Love is energy. Love is the exchange of kindness and joy and tears and sadness, and love is just that beautiful energetic exchange between two people, between four people, between an artist and their fans, between, you know, it's that beautiful energy exchange, I think.
That's great. What would, okay, so let's kind of let's dive deep into it. There's many avenues of love, right? There's love for family, love for your significant other. Let's focus on, you know, love for your parents. What is your relationship with your parents like?
Well, I'm super close with my mom. I love her dearly. I miss her. I haven't seen her for a year, and so I'm actually gonna get on a plane next month to go see her because I miss her. My dad's dead, and so I was gonna say I don't have a relationship with him. I do kind of have a relationship with him. I still talk to him, I think, sometimes, and you know, and I remember him. And I have a stepdad too. And my stepdad is much more of he's definitely more the strong kind of silent type. So he was always there for us and good, but just not super close, not unclose, but just not super close, if that makes sense, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Last words? Any last things you want to say?
Be kind. Be kind. Be kind.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, guys. Well, have a great day, guys. Thank you very much.